What is going on, Bears fans? I hope you're having a good morning. Look, we're 1-2. We're struggling right now to find our way through this difficult NFL first season for Caleb Williams. And the question at this point that we're going to be asking today is, will Ryan Poles go down with the ship or will he make a change? And when I say change, there's a lot of conversation right now about one man in particular, and that is Matt Eberflus. And Matt has been a problem, but is he the problem on this team? We're going to ask the question. I don't have the answers to this at this point. Here's the problem. The problem is, even if we identify that Matt Eberflus might be the problem, it doesn't change the fact that we might not be able to do anything about it. Because if the higher ups, if Kevin Warren, if Ryan Poles, if they disagree, then there's not very much that we can do or will be able to do about it, other than just complain a lot and watch the losses pile up. But this is Ryan Poles' team. Now, God, if you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like button on your way in. Helps push me up in the algorithm. Ryan Poles created this team from beginning to end. There are a few leftover players, but his number one overall draft pick, Caleb Williams, that threw, by the way, for 363 yards. That cannot be dismissed. We've seen the potential for greatness from Caleb Williams early on in this season. Now, it has not manifested itself into the wins that we were expecting. And I'll be the first to tell you, I was expecting him to play a little bit better than what he's played so far. But also, I would expect that the team overall would be playing a little bit better. And I would also argue with myself in that regard that the team is playing better than they played in 2023, where they were clearly not ready to compete. Now, the problem is, they're still clearly not as ready to compete as they should be. These teams that we're going against right now have not been huge winning teams, in fact. The Houston Texans, potentially a playoff, possibly Super Bowl contender. That's what we were told early on. Do they look the part? Not really. They were annihilated by the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings coming with some really advanced defensive schemes and really confusing a lot of people early on in the season. The Bears, by the way, a great defense, not on the same, not doing the same, not really disguising it as much. The Bears just a tough team. So it begs the question, what is wrong with the team? Like, what are we looking at? And of course, the first place that we start is coaching, and the second place that we go is offensive line. And there were two major people from the previous regime, if you will, last season that were kept. That one, Matt Eberflus, and this guy right here, Chris Morgan. Chris Morgan is the offensive line coach. He is the offensive line coach of a team who has struggled to find an offensive line identity for 3 years now. But Chris Morgan has been kept on, and here we are with this offensive line again being the weakness on a team that needed it to be a strength. So Chris Morgan is a problem. Now, not only is he a problem, but Ryan Poles went on the ESPN 1000 pregame show and he even admitted as such. And I think this is probably a direct shot at Chris Morgan because let's not take it for granted. Caleb Williams has been sacked, 11 times so far? He was sacked 7 times in one game. He was sacked, 11. He's been sacked 11 times so far. And DeAndre Swift averaging 1.8 yards a carry. So, and by the way, Roschon Johnson, much better as they run up the middle a little more confident in his ability to run between the tackles. So it's looked a little bit better when he's been on the field, but he hasn't been on the field enough. And we've done a lot of these sweeps. Look, when your entire offensive line is laying down as DeAndre Swift loses 12 yards on 4th and 1, that's insanity, right? And we should be able to recognize that there is something fundamentally wrong here. And Ryan Poles said this in his mind: their struggles have nothing to do with talent. And to be honest here, one of the things that I said, and I've said a couple of times now, that doesn't seem to register for a lot of people. It's very simple. Um, Coleman Shelton won a Super Bowl as an offensive center. It's absolutely bonkers to know that the people who are not performing or are currently underperforming right now are the same people out here winning Super Bowls. That makes no sense whatsoever. And Robert Kelsey says Dave Wanstead loves Morgan, says he's getting a bad rap. He's not getting a bad rap. He's getting what he's earned on the field. And it could be that you could say that he's getting a bad rap, but then where does Dave Wanstead want to place the blame? Where does he want? And by the way, there is blame to go around in Shane Waldron, who is not calling really good. He look. I think he's working through it, and there has been changes. We talked yesterday about the changes that have been made in the offense and the adjustments that are being made to make this thing work. But the offensive line didn't work last year either, and it doesn't work this year either. That's not Shane Waldron. There's only two common denominators between that in the coaching department, and that's Matt Eberflus and Chris Morgan. Chris Morgan being the guy who was kept over, and here we are. So what he says is this. Ryan Poles says that the problem has been offensive line communication, technique, and fundamentals have led to a rough performance rather than bad talent. Now, let's just take that and offensive line communication. Who is that? Well, that's the coaches making sure that people know you got to communicate with each other. Technique, the fundamentals, those are all your coaches teaching your people and coaching your players up and giving these players what they need in order to do their job effectively. It is hard to read and not think that this is a direct indictment of Chris Morgan. Okay. He's the, look, you can think that a $1 million guy who's making, Nate Davis money, if he's making $12 million a year, you can think that that guy is responsible for motivating himself. That's not what you're paid for. You're paid to go out there and play the game to the best of your ability. But if you're not prepared by your coach, if you don't have your techniques, if you don't have your fundamentals, if you're not communicating with your teammates, if you're not doing all of the basics, that's the coach. That's this guy right here. That means that it's not happening from this level. So if Dave Wanstead, who is, I believe, I want to say, as a head coach, has a lifetime losing record, and I like Dave Wanstead. I'm not saying that I don't like Dave Wanstead, okay? But lifetime losing record, I'm pretty sure. Dave Wanstead's telling you, then I don't think that he's the pro that we think he is, and he doesn't understand. But Chris Morgan, one of the only coaches kept from last year, and here we have the same fundamental problem that's happening again. So now we ask the big question: do we have a Matt Eberflus problem? And that is the question at this point. Now, look, there's been a lot of ramblings, a lot of fans, a lot of people unhappy with what they're seeing in the product on the field. But here's the one thing that we know. 4 games into last season, we were 0-4. The team was clearly not prepared when it needed to be prepared. Now, by the way, look, I think that, we started off the first game against the Packers last season, scored right away, had a little bit of a lead before the wheels really started to fall off. There were some bright spots in those first 4 games. Okay, there honestly is. The problem is this team is clearly not prepared to compete at a high level to start the season. You know what you want to do? You want to come into the season, you want to win your first game, and then you want to smash people right in the face for your second, for your third, for your fourth game. You want to let people know that you mean business, and you want those teams to adjust to you because they know that you can get it done. And you know what's happened? The absolute reverse. Everybody's watched the tape and everybody knows. And by the way, when I show you the statistics on the offense right now, after you vomit, then you're going to probably kind of understand a little bit more. And I want to mention Caleb Williams in the third game had 363 passing yards. And, look, we didn't rush for a whole lot, but we rushed for about 70 yards. So that means that the Bears put up about 400 and something yards of offense. Okay. So when I give you the statistic on the Bears offense, I want you to understand how woeful they were in game 1 and game 2. and that once we got a touchdown from Caleb Williams, we immediately got another touchdown. So something got triggered, but I'm going to show you some schemes and I'm going to show you some spreads out here. I'm going to show you what the offense and the defense look like back to back together, and you're going to see why Caleb Williams was doing that and why he wasn't doing that before. So, is Matt Eberflus the problem? I think it's safe to say at this point, he is clearly a problem. He is not a solution for this team. Now, when I say that, I'm saying that and I'm hedging on this because there is really still a possibility that Matt Eberflus is still our guy. And we're going to look at this and we're going to say, you know what? This was a lesson learned. We didn't start off the way that we wanted, but again, we rattle off 5 wins in a row and suddenly it changes. But until we before we can do that, we have to address a couple of concerns. Matt Eberflus clearly a problem. So let's move on and let's get into why we could have an advantage going into Sunday's game. Number one, Cooper Kupp is going to be out on Sunday, so we will not have him out here catching unnecessary balls, just making plays. Cooper Kupp been a really good route guy for a long period of time. So he's going to be out on Sunday, which is going to make their job a little bit difficult. And we also brought in Steven Carlson. He is now on the active roster. And does that mean Mercedes Lewis is done? Well, listen, Mercedes Lewis job and responsibility at this point is more of a coaching role, in my opinion, for Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, and anybody else than it is for him out there on the field. He was one of the lowest rated players on the offense in the first 3 games. So he's clearly not up to the snuff that he had been before. And really he's a pass protector and a run blocker type tight end. He's not really the guy that goes out for the routes and gets stuff done. That's Cole Kmet. But Cole Kmet, by the way, 15 catches in 16 targets. That's a 94% catch rate. If we could have that all season long, then this team will grow very quickly and be fine. Okay. So I'm encouraged by a lot of the things that I see. I just don't think that it's happening quick enough, and that I think that again, the fundamental problems of this team come back down to coaching. It comes down to Chris Morgan not having his team ready, not having his offensive line ready. It comes down to Matt Eberflus not making sure that these coaches are ready to perform, because Shane Waldron has also called jet sweep on 4th and 1. I can't say any more than that. And NFL executives out here are telling people, this is the worst play I've ever seen. Who calls that? Oh, yeah, Shane Waldron. So, and by the way, I am still a fan of Shane Waldron. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't think Shane Waldron understands the team that he has yet, or hasn't fully fleshed out in his mind what works and what doesn't. And we've seen changes being made. So I'm encouraged that we see the changes. I just want to see more. Now, let's talk about some of the problems that manifest themselves. And look, I'm going to make this kind of simple for you guys, or at least I want to break it down just a little bit. And I want you guys to look at this. Here is the problem, if you will. This is, and guys, it doesn't get any simpler than this. And I want you to look down at the bottom of the screen and see this is at the beginning of the game, and this is with 14 minutes and 17 seconds left. This is basically one of the first or second plays of the game. It's 3rd and 6, so this is going to be the third play of the game, I think. Now, I want you to look at the lineup, and I want you to see there's a break that's already happened here. I took it to the break, but I want you to count the number of blue jerseys that are within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 men on the line of scrimmage. Who can run on a 10-man front? Now, really, you really have like about 8 or 9 in the box, but that's a lot. That is a lot for anybody. Just want you to understand that. And we're talking about within 10 yards. The ball was snapped on this at the 34-yard line. These safeties, they're not even at the 44, okay? What are they doing? They're trying to make Caleb Williams throw the ball, and they're stopping the run. They're committing to stopping the run. Why? Because he's a rookie, okay? And they want the rookie to go through the rookie growing pains. And by the way, that's the cost of being a rookie in this league. They're going to make you throw the ball. And if you don't throw the ball well, then you're not going to do very well. Okay. That's very simple. And that's what we're seeing right now. This is the next play. And this, by the way, is with 13 minutes and 48 seconds. Now we got a first down. But again, here we are. This is a clearly, if you look at this, this looks like it's clearly going to be a running play. Okay. Now, I don't know if it actually was or not. I was just taking screenshots of the line so that you could get an idea. But again, I want you to read how many men are in the box right now. Again, it's first down, first and 10, obvious looking running play. You can see how we're lined up. Caleb Williams under center. And what are you seeing here? You're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're seeing 9 men in the box here to stop the rush. Okay. They want to make Caleb Williams throw. Now, within 10 yards, you can see 10 men within 10 yards. I don't even know where the safety is. I don't even know if the safety's high at all. It could be that the safety is crushed up on the box, and we could have 11 men in this box right now. This is wild. Okay. And remember, this is an incredibly tight formation that we're running right here. It's an incredibly tight formation. And look, your obvious move here is to run it to the right side. I don't know what the play is, but your scheme and your lineup is right now. You've got Roma Dunze in motion. You want to move him to the left side, and then you want this the corner down here with the 2 on his back. That's back about 7 yards. You want him to move to the other side so that you can run to the right side. That would be the optimal look because you got your tight end on that side. But I mean, guys, I here we are. 9 men in the box is what you're working on right here. But it gets better because here right now, this is again within 10 yards. You have everybody within this box. This is an obvious passing play. Obvious passing play, or it looks like an obvious passing play. You can see that Caleb Williams is in the shotgun formation. And what did you end up seeing here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10 men crowding the line of scrimmage again. The safeties are up within 10 yards, again, crowding the line so that you cannot run the ball. So and what do we need to do? We need to run the ball in order to make the job easier for Caleb Williams. Now, Caleb Williams, to his discredit, has missed a lot of easy throws. If he were making these throws, I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you guys. If Caleb Williams were making these throws, they would not be stacking the box. But the fact that Caleb Williams has been missing some of these easy throws, and look, 33 for 52, 63.5% completion ratio. This is not bad numbers. Okay. And he had 2 touchdowns. The 2 touchdowns came late. And I'm going to show you why they came late in just a moment because it's part of the slides as well. But when you're crowding this box and you're making them throw the ball and he's not converting, when he's overthrowing, remember how many times has he overthrown Roma Dunze? Roma Dunze has dropped a couple of easy passes. Keenan Allen has dropped an easy touchdown pass. We've made this way more difficult than it needs to be just by virtue of not doing some of the fundamental things that we really should be doing. So you're crowding the box right now and you're making it difficult to run and you're making it by Caleb Williams being inaccurate, a little bit inaccurate. You're making it prohibitive for the passing game to succeed. Okay. Now, this is a normal defense. This is what the Bears are doing versus the Indianapolis Colts. You can see right here that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 men in the box. You have your safeties. You have your 2 safeties are at least 10 yards away. You can see Jaquan Brisker, who had his best game, by the way. You can see Jaquan Brisker standing right there, but Kevin Byard is back there even further back. You've got your corners. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, 6 men in the box. You've got 8 men on the line of scrimmage, but you've got a spread offense out here with 2 wide receivers on the right side. And this makes it just so much. Look, there's so much room to run. Jonathan Taylor, because the Bears have been a great rushing defense, we haven't had to worry about it. They've been pretty good. Now, Gervon Dexter, by the way, is a problem in the running game. Okay. A problem that Justin Jones was not. Gervon Dexter makes penetration. Gervon Dexter is a good pass rusher. But as far as 3 technique has gone so far, it's been easy to run towards Javon Dexter. So hopefully he's going to improve and recognize that, and we'll get a little bit better as we go. Javon Dexter, by the way, when I say this, that's not disrespectful to Javon. He has been much improved, and this defense has been much improved this year compared to last year. So I'm not slighting him, but he does have to work on the run game just a little bit. Now, again, this is what a normal defense looks like. They are not crowding. They're not stacking the box to stop the run game. They're just trying to play a basically, Matt Eberflus sort of a vanilla defense. You got a four-man front. You've got two. You've got. It looks like Tremaine and TJ Edwards are showing blitz. Are they actually going to blitz on this play? I don't know. Again, I didn't play these plays out. I'm just showing you the formations of what you're looking for. And by the way, when I say this and when I do this, I didn't have to work real hard to do this. All I had to do was just go play by play and play and just keep taking pictures and showing you what this looks like. Now, take it another step further. This is the Chicago Bears. This is late in the game. And now what are you looking at? You're looking at two deep safeties. So now they're trying to stop the pass. They're actively trying to stop the pass, which has loosened up the defense and it's loosened up the defense a little bit. It's spread it out a little bit, and now it's giving you more lanes to throw in. And what happened? Caleb Williams has 2 touchdowns towards the end of the game. Why? Because they're no longer crowding the box and making it impossible to run. Now, you might be saying to yourself, hey, well, if they're trying to cover the passes a little bit better, then what do you mean the passing game? Well, look, we're already down at this point, and we're not running the ball well. They've decided that the four-man front, and they've got 7 men in the box this point. But this is more than not this. Remember, there were 9 men in the box. This is the distance is now opened up. The safeties are playing deep because they know that the Bears need to pass the ball down the field, right? But look at how open around that 30-yard line, between the 35 and the 30-yard line, wide open space. This is how you start moving the ball down the field. Your defense has now changed the way that it's playing the game and it's opened up this team for a lot more. And then, of course, Caleb Williams starts to make a few throws and a couple of touchdowns. Now, that is what we're looking for. And until this defense can start smashing, which I think really they need to make a change. And I'm going to tell you, my opinion is what we're going to have to do. What we're going to have to do is go with Roschon Johnson for a short period of time, make him the starter. And look, I wouldn't have a problem with Khalil Herbert either. But look, Roschon Johnson has looked the part of the number 1 back so far. The other 2 guys at this point have not. So hopefully we'll see that change at least for one game. Like show us a little smash mouth football. Make this team commit to stopping the run so that Caleb can open up the pass. I think Caleb's confidence was hit just a little bit. He'll never say it, but I think his confidence took a little bit of a hit when he didn't have a touchdown. He didn't have a couple of touchdowns right away, and he had to work harder than he wanted to make some of this stuff happen. Like I think that getting 2 touchdowns under your belt right away was a great thing for Caleb Williams. Now let's look at the NFL team defense. NFL total defensive stats right now: the Bears are giving up 286 yards a game, and by the way, we're going to show you the turnovers in just a second. But this is a top 10 defense. Now remember. This was a top 10 defense last year, but they were number 1 versus the rush, and they were number 25 versus the pass. Now, when you start to go down this list and you start to look at how well they're doing, you're not encouraged by the run. Now, they got gashed a little bit. 121 yards a game is what they're giving up so far right now. You're going to have to be better than that. But 165 yards passing is good enough for a top passing defense. So things have changed dynamically with the Chicago Bears. And again, I think we're going to see this kind of manifest itself over the next little while, but be encouraged because the stats that we're looking at right now are very good for this defense. And we're number 4 overall, tied for 3rd place with the Buffalo Bills and the Minnesota Vikings at takeaways. Total takeaways at 6 so far. That's 2 a game. And look, if we continue to do that and we continue to do those kind of moves right there, then at the end of this, the Chicago Bears are going to be a playoff contender. Now, the unfortunate part about this is when you start to look up and down this, the number 1 is the Green Bay Packers with 9 takeaways, and the Minnesota Vikings tied with us for 6. So 3 NFC North teams are in the top 5 in takeaways so far. So turnover-based situation. Hopefully, this will, hopefully we will continue to do what we're doing. Minnesota and Green Bay will not. But as of this point, again, just be happy. We're a top four, tied for third in takeaways team so far. Now, differential here, you can see it, by the way, the differential Green Bay Packers +7, New Orleans Saints +4, the Bills +5, the Bears 0. We're the only one in that top 7 with a 0 differential because we've turned the ball over just a little bit too much. We've had 4 interceptions, but we've actually had 4 interceptions against us, which basically negates it. So, we'll see what happens here. But the final piece here, and this is the worst part. Now, you can see the Indianapolis Colts right there at the top, averaging 315 yards. This is where it gets interesting, okay? The Bears are number 30 of 32 on offense. Now, again, I want you to look at how poorly the Bears played in the first 2 games. And I just want you to consider the Bears had 70 yards rushing, 363 yards passing. That's 430 something yards in the third game against Indianapolis. 430 yards, and we are only averaging 249. That's how poorly the offense has played. And it will not continue that way. It will not continue that way. The one thing that everybody should be encouraged by, well, there's 3 things you should be encouraged by. Number 1, Caleb Williams has looked the part. Caleb Williams has been good, not great, but good. He's been a good player so far. Um, Roshan Johnson appears to be ready to run super hard, and I think that he's being implemented into it. And that's the other encouraging thing. Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron is starting to make adjustments, and he's starting to make moves in this team. And you're starting to see more Roshan Johnson. Look, you're going to see crazy plays as he tries to balance out what works in this offense. And I think, look, it is my opinion. Shane Waldron is not bad as an offensive coordinator. He is trying to learn his team. He has a new team. He has a new scheme. He's trying to make this all work within the framework. And he doesn't know everything that he needs to know yet. He will learn it very quickly. I think that he should know it already. I'm not happy with what we've seen so far as a product on the field, but I still remain encouraged. This is not the craziness that we saw from Luke Getsy. So I do think that this is better for the team overall. And then finally, Matt Eberflus had the wisdom and wherewithal, despite that I still consider him to be a problem, to bench Nate Davis and go with Matt Pryor. That's been a good thing. And listen, if you don't play hard in practice, if you don't work hard in practice, why do you get to take the field? Because we gave you $12 million and now we're forced or we have to do that? No. You have to you have to put in the work, right? Nate Davis has shown that he's soft and he's weak at this point. It does not mean that he's not an NFL caliber player. Doesn't mean that in the right system with the right coaching that he won't be a valuable asset. Doesn't mean that he won't be a valuable asset to the Chicago Bears. It just means that right now we recognize the problem and we made a change, and it was a necessary but difficult change. Necessary but difficult changes are when you're paying somebody $12 million to do a job and they're not doing it. So you have to put them on the bench. Same thing for DeAndre Swift. We gave this guy $8 million a year for 3 years guaranteed, and he's performing like a backup. So it will be nice to see Roshan Johnson continue to get more touches, Khalil Herbert continue to get more touches, and DeAndre Swift kind of fall down the depth chart just a little bit. And listen, you have to do what's best for your team. You can't just do what's best because you paid a bunch of money for somebody. You have to do what's best for your team. And I'm encouraged that the Bears are going to do what's best for the Chicago Bears. It is my belief that we'll see a lot more Roshan Johnson. We're going to see a lot more Khalil Herbert. We're going to see a lot more Roshan primarily because he has shown out when given the opportunity. We're going to see more Khalil. We're going to see less DeAndre Swift. And then we'll see DeAndre Swift start to get mingled back into the mix as the Bears fix the rushing game to complement the passing game, which right now both of them seem to be a little bit in disarray, despite, again, 363 yards from Caleb Williams. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you like this type of content, make sure to hit the like button on the way in. And remember, this is a work in progress. It is not optimal. This is not optimal. What I'm looking for out of the Chicago Bears is not what we're getting. What I'm looking for from the Chicago Bears is a 13-4 season, and it's clear at this point that the very best we could hope for, probably 12-5. These were two winnable games that we should have won. I told you guys before, and I'm wrong so far about it. I told you that these games that were close, that we lost last season, we're going to win this season. And so far, I've been proven wrong. I don't think I'm going to continue to be proven wrong because I can see the progress. It's visual. It's visual. I'm frustrated like you are. Matt Eberflus continues to be a problem. Shane Waldron is a problem. But again, I'm encouraged by the changes that they are making. They are no longer afraid to make moves to try to find what works. And here's the thing. At some point, very, very soon, I want to say, this team will find a rhythm. And when it finds a rhythm, then this team will be a playoff contender. We do have the pieces in place right now. It's just the execution that we have to get better at. And that's all I got to say. So, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Continue to bear down. FU Green Bay. Uh, anyway, guys, I am encouraged. I'm still encouraged because again, Matt Pryor being brought into the lineup. Kiran should be ready to go pretty soon. A lot of good things coming out of practice for Kiran. So there are a lot of good things that I think are in the works here for this team. Okay. So stay faithful, stay encouraged. I think we're going to be just fine. We're just going through something right now. Anyway, bear down, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon. You guys have a good